Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, and today I have a guest, Evan Keane from Ireland. He's a rehab and resilience coach, where he helps people resolve pain and injury by helping them move effortlessly through a couple of his programs that he has. And today I want him to kind of introduce himself and, of course, share what he's doing and the mission behind it. So, Evan, welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast.
Hey man, yeah, it's great to be here and really appreciate the invite for coming on and chat about a couple of good topics that are coming up. But basically you've covered the important stuff there. Is I help people resolve pain, resolve injury, and get back to moving naturally, moving effortlessly, and kind of at the core of it all to become resilient. Because I guess from my own background, I came into coaching from the perspective of having dealt with so many injuries and issues myself, and this kind of like just deep rooted feeling of my body was frail and I couldn't really handle the things I was asking it to do. So resilience is kind of like top of the list to get people back that, number one, yes, they can move effortlessly, but that they don't have to constantly think and have that in the back of their head that's like, okay, well, when is the next injury going to come? So yeah, that's basically it. That's the mission.
So what's your background then? Were you always into, health and fitness, or did you have a prior career before?
Yeah, so I'm actually I graduated from university with a biomedical engineering degree. So I've always had an interest in training, and like I played sport my whole life. And yeah, I went into that degree and I worked in engineering for a couple of years. And along the way, when all these injuries started to happen, when I started to like kind of almost have to face and learn about these things in a little bit more depth to try and help myself, I kind of went the traditional route of I got my PT cert, but I always knew going into that I was never going to be just like a PT, a regular PT. I always wanted to go down the route of movement, of kind of going a little bit deeper and trying to understand, human biomechanics. But I kind of used that as my onboarding and my on-ramp, and then just jumped down the rabbit hole of different systems and different approaches and trying different things myself. That's kind of what's led me to where I am today.
That's crazy. Okay, so did you play football?
Yeah, Gaelic football.
Cool. All right. Right on. And so with what you're going on right now, which I know you said we're kind of briefly talking about your foot and ankle program. That's something I feel I have a pretty big passion in myself, having played basketball. Those are my first injuries: ankle sprain, ankle strains. I was in a boot, for a couple seasons. So I understand the injury and knowing it starts from the ground up, foundation wise, that most people don't overlook. And so I'd love to hear like how this came about and why you put together this foot and ankle program.
Yeah, so like you said, the foot is literally the foundation, and it's the one area of the body, it's the only area of the body that's in contact with the external environment. It's like, yes, we've got like our skin and the rest of our body that's in contact with the air, but the physical contact is the only place. So for me, it's like it's the most important part of our body in terms of making sure that we can have proper function and have proper abilities at that level. Because one thing I learned along the journey is that everything in the body is connected, and it doesn't always mean that your shoulder injury has been caused by your left pinky toe, but it's all connected. And what I see particularly for pain or injuries that people are experiencing, that they're like, I can't really seem to get a resolution to this and nothing has worked. They're generally at some level missing out on this like key interaction point with the floor, and what happens at that interaction point determines what happens up the whole chain. And I think where the foot and ankle fascia program came from was not necessarily starting by looking at the feet. A lot of people and a lot of my content is very much related to hip mobility and issues related to the hips. And a lot of people were coming to me for that. And I experienced a huge amount of issues with my own hips. But it was almost a top-down approach from the hips that I was looking at. Okay, well, some people's issues maybe aren't clearing up so easy, but then also what is causing the issues in the first place? And that kind of directed back down to the floor. And then it was kind of work your way back up from there in terms of trying to clean things up. So what I found was a huge thing that the whole foot and ankle fascia program is based off of is the foot pressure, in terms of like, okay, how are we interacting with the ground and how are we loading through that foot? Because you probably know this, and maybe some of your listeners know, but like our footwear is just not set up to allow our feet to do what it's designed to do. And then if you put on top of that, how people's daily lives look in terms of how little movement is there, it's just like it's a recipe for disaster. And what I found is, when the interaction with the floor, most people are loading the foot in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
And the bigger issue arises is that a lot of people get stuck in that strategy of loading. And when you get stuck in one particular position, no matter where it is in your body, then issues arise, because we should have the options for movement and different strategies at different parts of our bodies. And that's kind of where the contents, and why I felt that program was so needed, and why so many people can benefit from it. Because it's not just, that's why it's called like the foot and ankle fascia program. It's like, yeah, fascia is like a little bit of a buzzword, but also it's to kind of represent the point that it is like a foot and ankle program, but it's not just about the feet and ankles. We do integrate the hips, we integrate the entire body, because for me, you can't really address the foot without addressing the entire body, and then vice versa.
Yeah, I agree. So I was curious, I mean, fascia, because that's all what I talk about on my podcast is fascia, since I'm a fascia stretch therapist by trade. And so I'd love to know, like, how did fascia come about? Did you ever heard about fascia when you first got into, health fitness, or is it something that you kind of came across?
Yeah, fascia is something more so that I came across, in terms of, I guess, the evolution of the things I was learning about kind of just led me to looking at this. For me, it would have, like, I started a little bit more in the isolated, like FRC joint by joint kind of approach, and like focused on mobility, because that was kind of the issues I was having at the time that I was looking to try and get on top of. But the fascia is something that I don't claim to be a fascia like specialist or expert. I definitely don't know all the details and everything there is to know about it. It's more so an awareness of what happens, for example, at the feet, how that can impact the fascia, and how that all integrates and works up the chain. So like, obviously things like anatomy trains and looking into like Thomas Meyer's work, I've dabbled in some of that. And, it's like super fascinating. And again, for me, it was just a piece of the puzzle that was kind of missing, in terms of like just an understanding and an awareness of how this impacts the greater structure and the whole mission of trying to help people move effortlessly. And I think that fascia is a huge part to play in that, because of the nature of how fascia works, where we've got, the way I like to think of movement is like it's a recycling of energy. So when we impact the floor, can we load, and then can we use that energy again instead of just slamming it into the floor? So for me, that's where like fascia started to become important, and it's why I kind of started to develop an awareness around it and see how I could integrate it into how I was helping people. Because what I found is that fascial stuff works, joint by joint stuff works, like all these systems kind of work. And for me, what's more important is to have an understanding of the principles of movement, and then essentially plug in the tools that will work for the majority of people, or if on a one-by-one basis, like, what does this person need? And I try to look at it in that way. It's like, what tools have I got, and how can I apply them to what the person in front of me needs, versus just, I'm just going to go all in on joint mobility and focusing on joint by joint. So it's definitely something that I just kind of came across, but again, it was a necessary tool, and kind of it filled in the gaps of my understanding of all these other approaches and systems and ways of thinking about movement.
That's cool. Yeah, man. I think it's great to have that introduction to anatomy trains. Tom Myers, obviously pioneering fascia work, and continues to be so. So that's cool, man. I appreciate you looking into that, and I think it's important that you kind of research and learn more about it, because I don't think a lot of people know much about fascia, but it's coming along. I think it's more, as more people are bringing this up in the health and fitness. Hopefully, it's become more of a common thing to people look at the fascial system rather than just muscle or skeletal. The fascia is what kind of gives that movement torque, the power for the body. So it's awesome. Curious, I know you probably treat people in person, but you also have an online course, of course, having the foot and ankle fascia program. But typically, do you treat more in person or online?
Predominantly online.
Okay.
Some in-person stuff, but it's predominantly online in the form of one-to-one coaching and with our programs now. In over the last, I guess, year and a half, we've been like bringing more and more different types of programs, and the foot and ankle is just one of the newer additions. But it's predominantly online. And I mean, what I've tried to do with the programs and that kind of offering there is like, number one, how can we impact more people? But I've tried to apply the learnings from one-to-one, from in-person scenarios, and see what's kind of cropping up most. What is the thing that a lot of people are struggling with, and what are some of the low-hanging fruit that a lot of people can see a lot of benefit from. But it's predominantly online is how we offer our service.
Do you have a team that works alongside of you, or is it just you solely?
No, not anymore. It was me solely, and my partner now, Veronica, is on board looking after a lot of the back end systems. We just released a new app as well, and she was kind of responsible for putting all of that together. She's involved with marketing and stuff as well. We've got some people coming on board as well to help with some content too, because that's like a full-time job in and of itself, as you probably know.
Yeah, it's like, there's too much. I mean, you want to obviously try to get, especially since you're an online coach, you have to have a team. It's hard because otherwise you'll just be an influencer. But that's something that I'm sure you're gonna get there eventually. But tell me more as far as like some success stories that you've had, knowing what you have done for your clients. What are some success stories of people who have gone through your program from the beginning until even currently, or even the past?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest one that there's two big ones that come to mind for me because of, I guess, the impact that it had on that person's life. Not necessarily because it was like a massive injury that they somehow just like completely turned around. It's what I found with injury and pain in particular, like a chronic pain, is that it's about so much more than the pain or the injury, particularly for that person because of the impact that has on the rest of your life. So for most people, it's either, it's a constant struggle each day, or for other people, and in my case, it was when you become injured, it's like, okay, now you're not part of your team anymore. Now you have to train on your own. Now you're not spending as much time with friends, and it has this huge impact. So the two that stick out to me were, number one, it was a guy from Ireland, and some of the things he had shared with me, he was dealing with like chronic lower back pain. He had to stop. He played like soccer, not on a competitive level, but not like super high level. But the biggest thing for him was that he couldn't pick his daughter up off the floor because of the back pain that he had. And, we'd worked together for just a little over 12 weeks at this point. And I remember getting a message from him one day. I've already shared this on my Instagram about how he said now he's able to like pick his daughter up in the morning and carry her down the stairs. And, that was just like a huge, I could feel that deep within me just hearing him saying it. But it kind of really hammered home the power of this kind of work and the impact it can have on people. And the second one was a similar one. It was a parent again that she had come to me and she was dealing with a lot of things, a lot of SI pain, SI joint pain, and she had a disc bulge. L5, S1, your typical disc bulge. And we'd been working together. She was feeling some improvements, but then she went to play tennis with her kids. And then the next day, it kind of felt like everything was back where it was at the beginning. Like the SI joint had locked up again and she was in pain. And this one, I think, for a different reason, was a huge success story because this was a couple of weeks in where she felt like she'd been making progress. And then all of a sudden, it felt like we had done nothing for a few weeks because she felt like she was right back where she started. But she has persisted and she's stuck with the process, and we've continued to work on the things that she's needed. And just a couple of weeks ago, she was able to go away. She went skiing recently for a week with her kids. Again, she's playing tennis. And again, a message from her saying, like, a couple of months back, she couldn't even run across the street to her car. But now she's playing tennis with her kids, which involves the biggest struggle for her was like I'm okay in the gym, but when I'm playing tennis, it's a little bit chaotic. I'm not really thinking about how I move, and I have to twist and turn. And that was always the thing that caused her the issue. So again, like I was saying at the start, when you're in pain and when movement is not effortless, you're constantly thinking about how you're moving. You're constantly thinking, should I do this or should I avoid this? Because I don't know what's going to happen. So those are the two kind of bigger like success stories, just for the fact of the impact that they had on those people's lives.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I work at a chiro doing what I do as a fascia stretch therapist, so I understand like the chronic pain and people come
I've
in
lost you,
and
man.
they, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, got the sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just lost that last piece you were saying.
No, I was just saying that I work at a chiropractor's office, and the amount of people who are coming in with chronic pain, similar lower back pain, SI, piriformis, they're just trying to do their active daily living things, normal things that they love to do, but they can't because they're constantly thinking, like you're saying. It's, there has to be a root cause. You can't think for you too. You can probably agree, finding the root cause of that pain can sometimes be, it can take a while, or you could probably find it really quick. Assessments. So for you, you typically assess your clients based on what they're doing. Besides telling them their health history, how do you typically assess someone's sort of injuries?
Yeah, so the first thing I always start with is, let's say, a more global assessment. So that's like, it can be posture, it can be their gait, walking, it can be potentially like how they run. Normally things like squatting or a toe touch, these kind of more global movements, to see kind of, okay, what strategies is this person adopting for the kind of the tasks that I'm asking them to do. So instead of, let's say, going to their hip joint and checking internal and external rotation, is like, right, if I ask them to do this task, what is their body doing? And, what is that telling me about the strategies that they've adopted? So that's generally where I'll start as a first, to try to get like this general overview of what's going on. Then, depending on the issues that someone has, for example, if it's some kind of like foot or ankle related issue, after this, I'll go a little bit deeper on, okay, let's have a look at this area and see like what's happening. It's like, okay, what strength capacity have they got here? What range of motion have they got here? And again, depending on the specific areas, like let's look at some of these qualities and see, are they kind of measuring up to where we would like to see them in terms of like a baseline? And then, okay, where are the discrepancies and what can we go after? But what I found as well with a lot of people, I guess the majority of clients in recent times have been a lot of hip related stuff. And I found that there are a couple of like big hitting areas that will get a lot of results for people. Because for me, I'm like, even though we're trying to get to the root cause, and I generally find that the root cause will scream a lot louder than the finer details. So for example, someone will have a groin issue, and most people will go to the groin and they'll be like, let's find this little specific issue. But 9 times out of 10, I'll watch someone like squat, I'll watch someone trying to do a toe touch, and like, okay, this person's pelvis, their posterior hip is it's just messed up. It's compressed. They have no space. So it's like, I don't really care about their groin until we resolve this. And more than likely, this is the root cause. It's like, does the adductor groins, do they need some strength work? Like, can they benefit from that? Probably. But that's completely irrelevant until we clear this thing up, and until we start actually getting them loading their hip. Because if they're not loading their hip, no amount of groin strength is going to help. So I generally find that the root causes a lot of the time actually, maybe counterintuitively, will scream a little bit louder at me. And that's what we go after first.
Yeah. It's crazy that each topic complex.
Mm-hmm.
I find that's a very complex thing to even explain to clients. I think that's where we so you just have the muscles and the tissue that are surrounding it. So I think that's another thing too for me is like I'm continuing learning about fascia and kind of chain. It's I have to sometimes focus in on that area because like you're saying issues, like say this stems from feet.
Yeah.
Where the shoulders, to globally, I can't just focus on it's always pushing
Mm-hmm.
do the stretching. So tell me also, when you first started doing online coaching, what was the toughest thing? Just getting your name out, what was the toughest thing? Just getting started.
Toughest thing, I guess, where my biggest focus was in terms of the area I wanted to really try improve and master was the content. Because back when COVID started around 2020, I tried some online stuff and I tried to put some content out, and it never really hit. I never really went after it. So when I when I regrouped and was looking at how can I really try and build this properly now, the content was the biggest thing, and that's where I put most of my attention in the online space in the beginning. I had like some people within my network and stuff that could help me in terms of like just give me some advice. But I guess number one was getting more comfortable on the camera, learning what does make good content. But I think during that process as well, like looking back, I think it really helped me get clear as well on who I was trying to help. And kind of at the time, it didn't feel like a struggle of like really trying to get clear on my message. But I think that's really what I was doing with the content. And that was probably the struggle at the start, even though I never really realized it. It was really trying to get clear and consistent on my message and who I was speaking to. Because at the beginning, I was like, I'll work with athletes and help them with injuries. But I've kind of actually found a lot more joy and a lot more impact in helping people, like you said, who just want to be active in their lives, who just want to feel good each day and do the things that are like meaningful for them in their life. Like when you're in pain, it's like it's 24/7 in terms of it's either there physically or it's something's going on in here that it's constantly kind of just chewing away at you. And the impacts of that are huge. And for me, it's all about trying to simplify why that's happening. I always try like compare it to, okay, if you want to lose weight or lose body fat, then you follow the process of the calories, the training program, everything. And pain is complex. I'm not saying it's like just a simple process, but I do think, like I was saying, there are a lot of things a lot of people will get huge benefit from, because I think it's an area that we just don't understand. And I think it's an area that has been taken out of people's hands. Their power has been taken from them because everyone needs to be told something by the physio or by this person who has all the certificates. And to me, that's actually not such a good thing, even though we need physios and we need these professionals. But the education, in my opinion, is just not there. That's like one of the big things I seek to do with the programs as well as all my content. So I think that's been kind of like the biggest thing in this whole process of trying to get started.
Yeah, my goal too is to hopefully get more people aware of what I do. I'm hopefully I continue to learn from you and others like there, just creating good content, educational content, because I think more people who are inept to understand what you're doing, hopefully they can kind of follow along. I know I saw a couple of your videos. You wear zero shoes, barefoot shoes a lot in your training. Tell me, how did you get first into barefoot shoes, or did you just start from just no shoes at all and then get into minimalist barefoot shoes? How did that start?
Yeah, so I guess I've been wearing barefoot shoes pretty, like it's all I wear now. I don't wear regular shoes anymore, but I guess I've been wearing barefoot shoes probably for like the last 7 to 8 years, probably at this point. But that was kind of something I came across along this journey of trying to find solutions where I couldn't find them, let's say, in the normal approach that I was taking. And the barefoot thing is something I kind of like stumbled across. And I think there at the time, and for a lot of people, there's something very natural and primal about that it's just kind of like it pulls people's attention in. And I just went down that rabbit hole of barefoot and learning about the benefits of it. And it kind of stood out to me very quickly about this disconnection of like, it just doesn't make any sense that we wear these shoes that are like squashing our feet. So it made a lot of logical sense to me. And I'm pretty sure at the time I kind of went like, hard swap. I don't remember it being a massive struggle. There was probably definitely a period where I was like, yeah, okay, it's like feet are a little bit sore, but I kind of just went, all in on the switch. And I mean, for me now, it's like something I just don't even think about. And in many ways, I probably should stop and think about it, because like I'm really grateful for the fact that I don't need to think about, I'm going for a 3 hour hike and I need this shoe with this support and all these different things. I just everything is just barefoot, either in my bare feet or in the barefoot shoes. And the zero shoes, I've tried like Vivos and stuff, but the zero shoes in terms of like a training shoe, they're my favorite. Like I'm on like my third pair now, I think, and they're my favorite shoe I've ever had for training. And yeah, I wear them out pretty well before I go to the next one. You are you on the barefoot as well?
Oh yeah, bro. Like that's what I have. I have a whole stack of shoes. Transitioned like a year and a half. So when I first started getting into fascia work, I switched out because I was working at a physio clinic, and that kind of led me to this perspective of my feet, because I like stumbled across as well. And so slowly, it took me a while to transition out to conventional shoes. So I started off with some like regular Amazon shoes, and then now I have some zero shoes, and then the new Spacer Mobility, the new norm shoes.
Mm.
I'm trying different shoes just to see, test it out. Field grounds, Lona. I mean, there's so many different brands out there. So I'm just trying to check to see, as far as my toe display, like you said, like if I'm working out at the gym or if I'm just casual strolling, I'd love to see how my toes and my feet are actually feeling the ground. And I think that's something I haven't gotten into is the ground, which I'm sure is another topic to go into.
Yeah.
I love, I love, I love it because, like I said, going back to, foot and ankle having so much injuries, it made me think about my shoes as well. Just to see, like you're saying, you're jamming your toes into this. And just, I look at my toes and I'm like, that's a lot of years of having to fix my toe splay, and like my pinky toe is curled up. So I really do have to think now and work on my foot strength so that I can go out and do my lifts or running and whatnot. So yeah, I was able to do 2Ks in barefoot shoes. So it was cool to do it. I'm like, if I can do it, I'm sure everyone can do it. So
Yeah. There were like when people are like, "Oh, and you run in like the barefoot shoes," and it's almost like a flex now. It's like, yeah, I can run like 5K barefoot shoes on the concrete. It's cool.
yeah,
But I mean, and it's huge because people don't realize it. Because if you've got the cushion under your foot, it's like you're actually probably slamming the ground a lot harder than I am. It's like I'm actually, if I was to slam the ground like that, it would probably hurt a lot, and I wouldn't run 5K. But you have to be more efficient in the movement, and that's again coming back to like the foot and ankle fascia program. A huge part of it is about how are we pressurizing the foot. And that's what the modern shoes take away from you, some more than others with the amount of cushion. But if you've been diving into fascia, so like the importance of like the proprioception and how that can have a big impact on everything. It's huge.
It's crazy. So yeah, so can you give me a tidbit? I know you're working on this foot and ankle program. Just give me a tidbit, a sneak peek of like, if someone was interested in this program, what would they get? What would they dive into? What are you going to be providing for people who are interested in it?
Yeah. So the program is broken into 3 phases. It's not any set length. This is a program you have lifetime access to, and you can interchange the phases. You can go back and forth. But we have it broken down into 3 phases. The first phase essentially is about mobilizing the foot. It's about decompressing the foot and ankle. And one big part of it, which I think is unique to the program itself, is that we actually put a huge amount of emphasis on the lateral arch of the foot, not the medial arch. It's not to say the medial arch is not important or that we disregard it, but we place a huger emphasis on the lateral arch of the foot and restoring function, restoring our ability to pressurize that, and starting to integrate that into, okay, how does that connect now to our fascial chain, integrate with the rest of our body? So first, phase one is all about mobilization, that kind of desensitization of the foot, little bit of kind of waking the foot up, the intrinsics of the foot, and then starting to restore people's ability to pressurize and load a little bit more through that lateral arch, kind of restore that balance. Then phase two is all about building strength on top of that. So we start actually adding some external load in the form of, we do isometric work, we do more dynamic work, but trying to build actual strength in the tissues. Because a lot of people who potentially will get this program will maybe be dealing with some kind of Achilles issue or Achilles tendinopathy. So, part of this is we have to respect the whole idea of connective tissue strength and the capacity in that connective tissue. So the tendon strength is more of a focus in phase two, where we start layering progressively that strength on top of everything. We start to introduce a little bit of lower level plyometric stuff as well, but it's more predominantly focused on the strength. And then particularly like if people are having that tendon pain, that's the phase where we focus on trying to resolve that. Phase three then is a lot more about the fascia. It's a lot more about the plyometric work, the recycling of energy, restoring the spring in our step essentially. And that's what phase three is all about. And that's essentially it, the 3 phases.
That's cool, man. So how did you come up with those 3 things?
Again, it was number one from like looking at how I help people in general, but also I've developed a 5-step model or framework that I kind of apply into the structure of my programs, into how I program for people one-to-one, and kind of how I look at where people are at. So it's kind of based off of that essentially. And like that model, I've shared it on like other podcasts and stuff, but it's essentially it's like 5 R's. It's remove, restore, rebalance, range, and resilience. So it's to put it like kind of very briefly, it's remove compression, restore what I call expansion mechanics, restore our ability to move into space again, rebalance any asymmetries in the body. Range is like, okay, let's like start looking at range of motion, some connective tissue stuff, joint range of motion. And then resilience is like, again, it's how's our ability to absorb impact and take things into a more dynamic setting. And that's where like the fascial stuff, the efficiency in our movement, connective tissue qualities, and that's kind of like that model has been quite successful. And obviously it looks different for different people, but that's kind of how the thought process I use, in designing a 3-phase program, for example. It's the same principles.
Dude, that is so awesome. So for those of, I guess, to close off,
I've lost your sound again.
Going. Oh, can you hear me now?
Okay, I got you again. Yeah.
I'd love to dive into one more question before I close out. What's your future plans, man, for Evan Keane, for you and your business? I know you're probably 5 years into this in your journey, but what is your future goal? What do you want to accomplish? What do you hope to do for you and your business?
Yeah, so the bigger goal now moving forward is really to start sharing more of our system and our approach. So like in the next like let's say short to medium term is really to start spreading some of the things that I've spoken to you about, because up to now it's been about a lot of one-to-one work. It's been a lot of, here's 3 exercises for your foot. But for me now, where I want to take it is kind of more into the realms of the longevity aspect and how people can actually really reap the full benefits. Because yes, getting one of the programs and following it can like get you a result in terms of resolving your pain. But like we were speaking about a little bit earlier, the big thing for me, which is as big as the training itself, is the education and the awareness, because people's problems are being caused by a lack of awareness, and the fact that they don't understand that what we do every day is probably what's having the negative impact on these colossal rates of injuries and chronic pain and surgeries and everything in the world. The next stage really is the education on top of continuing to develop those programs that we've got, so that, what I see, for example, for the foot and ankle fascia program, our hip program, and all our programs, is that I'm kind of constantly updating those programs, because I'm always adding more to it. Because number one, yes, the program needs to get you the result, but we want to teach you something along the way so that you can take that program, and even if you stop doing the program after a few months, like, you still understand the principles, that you don't need to buy another program like this again from anyone. It's like, we want you to be able to understand this, so you are resilient. Because part of the resilience is that this doesn't happen again. And a lot of that is around education. So we've just launched a brand new app, which we're delivering our programs on there. Over the next couple of years in particular, like we're going to be really developing that in terms of like an educational platform as well as a training platform, and really building out the brand in that way. But I definitely see that we're going more and more towards education as well as just our training programs, which is exciting.
I'll definitely keep an eye out for it as well as I continue to, collaborate and work with like-minded people like yourself. Future's bright for you, sir. And thank you once again for hopping to my podcast. I love for my audience to find out how they can learn about these programs and, of course, follow you if they're interested and, to learn more about what you're doing. So please feel free to share, your social media handle, an email, a website, and then just a way to, get in contact with you and learn more. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So the best way to find out more, to get in contact, is definitely the Instagram page. That's like my main channel. YouTube is also another place that I would advise people to check out. We've started building that out a lot more since the start of this year. The handle is @the.ancestral.athlete. And that's the same across all those channels. We have the website where you can check out our programs. And like we've been obviously talking a lot about the foot and ankle fascia program, but we've got 5 programs in total at the moment. And you can find those at ancestralathlete.com. If you go to there, you'll be able to access everything. Another thing, I'm not sure when this episode will air, we will have, probably by the end of this week, we will have a foot and ankle fascia masterclass, which will be for free for people, kind of give them some insight into the foot and ankle fascia program and how they can benefit, or if anyone just wants to learn a little bit more about our approach, that will be available. And you'll be able to find that as well through our website and the Instagram channel. So to summarize all that, go to Instagram as a start and you'll find everything from there.
Sounds good. Yeah, you're pretty active on social, so I'm assuming that's where people can contact you and find out more. So thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, drop me a message on there. Yeah.
It's been an awesome opportunity to get to know you, Evan, and of course, learn more about what you're doing, the work, helping more people, like I said, helping them get through out of chronic pain. Something that I hope as we continue to move along in our business that we can help more people. So thank you again, man.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. It's always nice to connect with other people in the space as well on like similar missions. And I think this is part of how we spread that message. Is the more conversations like this, the more channels that people can onboard and access this way of thinking and approaching their training and their physicality. I think it all adds to it. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. No problem. And for those of you who are listening, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe the Stretch to Go podcast. We release new podcasts every Friday. Of course, learn to become a fast stretch therapist. You can go to stretchtowin.com, find a nearest practitioner, or of course, to become one as well. Evan, appreciate it, man. And hope you have a good rest of your day, sir. And we'll connect again in the future.
For sure, Ian. Appreciate it, man.
Take care.